What is going on, Panthers Nation? Carolina Dad here, your host of the Growls One Roar podcast. Today, I'm joined by Keg of the Panthers Magpie channel on X. You may be very familiar with him. What's going on, man? Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me on. I've been watching your content over the past few weeks, and bro, your game's crazy. The guests that you've had on since starting having guests on, like Alex Zetlow, Mike K, Joe Person, and the likes of your Niche. You had a Niche on last time. Dunk on Demand, Ricky, and then me. I'm in the line of succession. So yeah, I much appreciate you having me on. Feel a little bit inferior when you put them names up against mine, but yeah, it's awesome. I appreciate the opportunity to come on, speak to you,
Hey,
bro.
man. Yeah, I really appreciate it. You should feel comfortable being a part of those group of folks, man, because you put out great work, great content, and it's been awesome to follow you from afar. So I know I got questions from, I think it was Roll Coverage Pod. They want us to know a little bit about, you picking the Panthers. What I will say before you go into all that, I watched the episode you did with Bland or Just
Mhm.
Bland. So I got to see like the full hour and a half. That was awesome. So I got to hear a little bit about it, but for people who may not have tuned into that, it would be cool if you could share, being in the UK, how you ended up landing on the Panthers. And there was a term you used called glory seeker and not wanting
Yeah,
to be a glory seeker.
that's the one. Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah,
go ahead.
I've been doing like Carolina podcasts since about 2020. I started doing Newcastle United content as a soccer fan channel. I call the Magpie channel. So I've been doing that since about 2017. So yeah, since 2020, when I first got asked that question on camera, I've probably told this story, I don't even know how many times over the past 4 years. Every one that I've done, that's usually the first question. Everybody wants to know why Carolina. Because if it
Mhm.
was like the Steelers or the Packers or Dolphins, nobody would ask questions because they're huge fan bases all over the world. But
Yeah.
Carolina isn't really. And that is one of the main reasons for it. So yeah, I got into the NFL. I was about 19 years old. It was 2021. And I picked them two names, the Steelers Packers, because that was the first game that I ever watched, the 2010 season Super Bowl. I'd always
Nice.
wanted to watch NFL and get into it. I was a big basketball fan growing up, but kind of around about that time, like the noughties, NFL American football wasn't very accessible in the UK. I watched like a lot of like movies like based around football and basketball and loved them.
Mhm.
But basketball is a lot more accessible because all you need is a ball and a hoop. You can play it by yourself, but football you kind of need at least a buddy to pass the ball to. Um, so yeah, but even on TV, all we ever really got back then was like the prime time games, which in the UK is like 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So yeah, it wasn't very accessible at all. The news, the 24-hour news channel in the UK, never really covered it, so you never really got any information. So yeah, I always wanted to watch it, and it was just one random late night on a Sunday in February. I was up on Twitter, and the Super Bowl was trending. So I just put the TV on. I didn't even expect to find the Super Bowl because of how little coverage we had back then. But
Uh-huh.
I found out that it was on the BBC. So I watched the Super Bowl. I think it was about the second quarter in. Watched that full game. Absolutely fell in love with it from there. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't get the rules. Obviously, it's a lot more complex to basketball or soccer or anything that we get over here. Um, so yeah, I didn't understand it, but I loved it. I just thought just everything about it was just awesome. I love like the tactics behind it, like each play, how it's all like devised and everything like that. So yeah, I just absolutely fell in love. So yeah, I wanted to start getting into it more. Obviously, when you watch the Super Bowl, there's no football for about 8 9 months, so I had a long time to wait. So I started watching casual games in 2011. Um, yeah, again, like the rules, I just wasn't really understanding. It was a little bit too complex. So I thought the best way to really understand it and get to know players, like the key players and the teams, was to follow a team. But because I've never been to the States yet, that's to come, and haven't really got any close relatives, friends, family, or anything over there, and none of my friends supported any team, so I had a free range. So yeah, the first team that I liked was Green Bay because of the
Mhm.
2010 season Super Bowl. I loved Aaron Rodgers. I loved Clay Matthews. Like, how can you not love Clay Matthews? Charles Woodson, them guys there. So yeah, the Packers were the first team that I thought of. But going back to that term, glory seeker, which kind of roughly translates over the Atlantic to like a bandwagon fan.
Mhm.
Yeah, I didn't want to be a bandwagon fan. We call it glory seeker because, particularly in soccer, you get like the same teams dominate for years, like decades at a time. Like Manchester
Yeah.
United from like the 90s, noughties, Liverpool, 70s, 80s, Manchester City over the past 10, 15 years. I know you get dynasties like the Chiefs and the Patriots, but typically it's anyone's game. Like that's why you get like the incentive of the number one overall pick. Like it can change each year. Nobody's guaranteed to win a Super Bowl. Um, but yeah, I just didn't like the idea of supporting the one team that I'd watch win a Super Bowl. Like that was far too easy for me. As a
Mhm.
Newcastle United fan, we suck, and I like that. Like working hard for my team, like cherishing every win, because I feel like the Man United fans that I grew up with were very entitled. Like a win was a win; it's just standard, it's expected. But as a Newcastle fan, like we appreciate every win, and I like that. I like the struggle of not knowing if you're going to win each game or not. So yeah, I didn't like the idea of being the Super Bowl champions straight away. The next idea was New York. I like the Giants because they were quite publicized, and I like New York City. Everything was kind of popping off at that time, and I was like my favorite city in the world at the time. And I'd seen their name referenced in movie and music and what have you. Um, but again, I knew they were a good team back then. Eli Manning was one of the top quarterbacks in the league, and I knew they were a good team. And it's funny that they actually won the Super Bowl in the 2011 season. So for me, not wanting to be a glory seeker, that didn't look good. So I'm glad I avoided the Giants.
Yeah.
But what came to the Panthers? They were the third team that I thought of, and where that came from is when I was a kid, probably about 7 years old. So we're talking late 90s here, 98,
Mhm.
99, something like that. I had a really close relationship with my cousin. And my cousin's dad moved over to the States when he was really little. He was quite a bit older than me, I think 7 years. So he would have been around about 14 at the time. Went over to visit his dad. Because we were so close, he brought back all kinds of like memorabilia for me, like South Park and like Space Jam characters, anything sort of like Orlando type.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, what else he brought was a signed Brett Favre football, which I
Oof.
didn't realize until about 10 years ago was actually Brett Favre's signature. To me, it was just
Wow.
a squiggle on a ball. Like Brett Favre meant nothing
Yep.
to me in the 90s. So yeah, just once I understood football and understood who Brett Favre was, I found that ball and I looked at it and straight away I was like, holy shit, that's Brett Favre's signature. So yeah, so I brought that back. And what else he brought was the full Carolina Panthers uniform, including
Oh,
helmet, shoulder pads, jersey, and even the
wow.
pants. So yeah, but looking back on it, I don't know where that stuff came from because, as I said, that was about 98, 99. The Panthers were a very, very young franchise, only like 2, 3, 4 years maybe into
Yep.
existence. And his dad lives on the outskirts of Atlanta. So to this day, I still don't know where that stuff came from. But yeah, like in 2011, I'm thinking I don't want a glory seeking team. I don't want a good team. I don't want a Super Bowl contender. And
Yeah.
then the Panthers came into mind. And I thought the Panthers are the first team that I ever actually knew about without ever actually realizing it. And I like that. And what else, like, so between the late 90s and 2011, I hadn't heard a thing about Carolina. And
Yeah.
that was something else that drew me to it, like the sort of anonymity of the Panthers. Like you would see, like I knew about the Dolphins because of Ace Ventura, and I knew about like the Steelers and the Giants and the Cowboys and all these big franchises, the Raiders because of Ice Cube, NWA, the
Yep.
49ers. Like there were all these big franchises that you would see in the UK. People would wear the caps or the hoodies or the jerseys or something, and you would recognize them, but I'd never heard or seen a thing not referenced in film or music or anything of Carolina. And I loved that aspect of it, but that made me think, did they even exist? I didn't know they
Mhm.
were real. So I had to go to Google to find out they were an active NFL franchise, and they weren't like the Mighty Ducks, and they were like fictional or the Toon Squad. But
Mhm.
also they could have been a college team or like an XFL, USFL team. I didn't know anything about them. So as soon as Google told me, yes, the Panthers are an active NFL franchise, I was like, cool, that's enough. That's me. First team I ever knew about. And anonymous, like not very well supported by the sounds of it. So that's it. I'm going to be a Carolina fan. So from there, I
Yep.
did a little bit more research. How good, how bad are they? I don't care if they're the worst team or the best team. My mind's made up. I've got it. And obviously, this was 2011, coming off the back of the 2-14 2010
Yep.
season. So straight away, I was like, damn, I said I didn't want to support the worst team, but I actually have picked the worst team.
You did.
So,
Yep.
yeah. So this is 2011. I'm doing a bit more research, trying to find out who the quarterback is. Found out that we had a rookie. His name was Cam Newton, and he was smashing
Mhm.
all these records mid-season. He's an absolute beast, throwing, running, and throwing to some short, angry-looking guy wearing 89. And I was like, wow, like, I just loved watching Cam and Steve and everything else about sort of the anonymity, but also sort of the potential rise coming from being the worst team in 2010 to having a
Yep.
rookie like Cam Newton. And I'm like, oh, this is exciting, man. Like him and Steve,
It
like
is.
this team could go somewhere now. Like I don't know much about
Mhm.
the NFL back then, at least anyway. But yeah,
Mhm.
I just fell in love from there. So 13 years later, we've gone through the highs of 2015 and the lows of 2023 and everything in between. But yeah, I love the Panthers. I love Carolina. I've done a bit more research into Charlotte, and everything kind of seems like Newcastle in terms of
Mhm.
both the teams, Newcastle United and Carolina Panthers. They're very similar in the sense that they've had decent years, but mostly bad years, bad
Yep.
management, bad ownership, the coaches, the
Mm.
players, the recruitment. It's just been terrible. And as a city, Charlotte's quite like a small, not very commercial city, not the most
Mhm.
popular. It's not like a New York or a Miami or a LA. And
Right.
that's what kind of connects me to it because they both seem to go hand in hand. Charlotte as a city, Newcastle as a city, Carolina Panthers, Newcastle United. It couldn't be a more perfect fit for me. It just seems like it was written in the stars to be a Carolina Panthers fan from day one.
It's a wild story, man.
Mhm.
Well, it's funny we kinda crossed over a little bit because I'm from North Carolina, so I've been here my whole life. Naturally, we get to see the Panthers on TV every week because 'cause they're, like, the local in-market team, so you always had them on, but my dad so I was born early '90s, and the Panthers weren't a team until, like, what, middle
Mhm.
'95, '96, and so I went with what my dad liked, and my dad was actually a Green Bay fan.
Oh well.
So for, like, the first, I don't know, 12, 13, 14 years of my life, I was like a diehard Green Bay fan, which I did
Yeah.
follow. I followed the Panthers on the side just because, like, they were always on TV, so, like, they were, like, my second team, but I rolled with Green Bay, and then I liked Brett Favre so much that I followed him from Green Bay to New York with the Jets, and then to
Mhm.
Minnesota. So every year I had to get new gear, and when I started dating my wife, I don't know what year it was, maybe 2014. I had Minnesota Vikings gear, I had the license plate, like, all this stuff, and so my father-in-law always jokes with me now, he's like, "Weren't you a Minnesota fan? Like, when you came around, like, what is" I was like, "Well, I don't know what I was." I was like, "I liked Brett Favre so much, I just followed him around," but it's funny too, like, so in the US, people think you have to be localized to the team that's, like, closest to you,
Mhm.
and sometimes it drives me crazy because 'cause I'm like, "You know what? Whoever you like," and,
Yeah.
you know, our oldest, he's a Baltimore Ravens fan, and he became a Ravens fan because that was his Pop Warner team, and
Mhm.
so Pop Warner Football, which is like our local football for like I
Yeah.
don't know the age range, but young kids.
Mhm.
And so that was his team. But I will joke with you because you said glory seeker. We joke with him that he is a bandwagon
Yeah.
because he picked up the Ravens when they had, Lamar and they started winning a lot of football.
Yeah.
So we joke with him. We're like, you know, if y'all didn't have Lamar and you weren't good, I bet you would not be a fan. And we just
Yeah.
give him a hard time, which
Absolutely.
is just funny. And this is so going way, way deep. He had eye surgery like 2 weeks ago. Just everything's good.
Good.
When he was coming out of anesthesia, they were helping him get ready, like the nurses, and they put on his shirt and he had a Ravens shirt. And they're like, "How did you become a Ravens fan?" And he was like, still out of it. He's like, "Oh, I'm just a bandwagon."
Ah, did he?
I
Hope you
was
got that
like,
on
"Dude,
video.
no, we wish we did because he doesn't believe us." We're like, "You said it." Like, everyone was there. We all watched it. It was wild.
That's awesome. Yeah, so I
Mhm.
was kinda like that when I was younger as well, so, yeah, I liked Manchester United because I was more of a David Beckham fan than anything,
Makes
um,
sense.
but yeah, like, they were a bit too good. Let's say I like the kind of underdog, but Manchester United were just phenomenal back in like the late '90s,
Yeah.
like when Beckham was there. And I always had Newcastle as like a side team. But yeah, I think particularly when Beckham left and then Ronaldo came, I always liked Man United, but I just didn't really
Mhm.
have that connection with them. I thought like Newcastle, they're my local team. Like out this window that you can't see because it's blacked out, you can actually see the stadium out of the back. So
Wow,
I'm that close to Newcastle. But
man.
yeah, like they were just the team that I connected with. They were my local team, and everyone always used to say that when I was like a Manchester United fan. People always used to say, "Oh, you've got to support your local team," and everybody does say that.
Mhm.
Everybody says that you've got to support your local team, but there's fans from everywhere around here. You get like your Manchester United, Liverpool fans. And I can kind of sympathize with them guys because I was a bit of a glory seeker when I was younger with my kind of David Beckham connection. But
Mhm.
yeah, it was just Newcastle was kind of always in the heart, and I always like appreciated their struggle and like the struggle of Newcastle as a city as well. We're a northern working class city. We're not glitzy, we're not glamorous, but we're hard working people, and we die by football, soccer. We love it. And we're a one club, one city kind of place. Like Manchester's got two teams, Liverpool, Glasgow. Liverpool's got London, sorry, London's got dozens. But in Newcastle, we only have Newcastle United. So everybody up here is die hard. We love our club, we love our city. So yeah, I think the connection for Newcastle just ended up being way greater than me love for David Beckham and Manchester United.
Yeah. So I think for me, if I think I would be in your shoes if I had to pick, like, an international soccer club. I I know the big names like you just said, I could probably rattle off a few, but with, like, which league they're in, which
Hmm.
tier, I would have to go out and like, "Alright, which team should I be picking?" But I think I'd probably do the same thing, so now I'm just have to follow Newcastle just to follow
There
them,
we are.
just to
Yeah, that's it.
see how
But the
they're
good
doing.
thing is about Newcastle is that we may be on the up because, as I mentioned, bad ownership. We had a we
Mhm.
had like a dictator of an owner from
Oh,
2007 to 2021. We were sold to the crown of Saudi Arabia. So now
wow.
we technically are the richest club in the world because of the power of Saudi Arabia behind us. So
That's
since
crazy.
2021, we changed head coaches, we've changed all the staff, the backroom staff, the coaches, spent a lot of money
Uh-huh.
on players. So we're a team on the rise. So we are a team to look out for in the next few years. I say we came from struggle. We knew nothing. We haven't won a trophy since 1969, I think it is 1968, maybe. So
Wow.
almost 60 years void of trophies, but one could be on the way. We've already made one final, but lost it to Manchester United. We played Champions League football for the first time in 20 years last year. So yeah, we're a team on the up, man. If now's the time to be a Newcastle fan, now's the time if ever.
There you go. That's awesome, man. So, what I will say, I think picking football, to your point, that's a very complicated sport. To, just pick up like basketball is pretty easy.
Mhm.
Soccer, you can handle that. This is just random. Do you follow like cricket or rugby or any of
I
those?
don't actually know. I think
Yeah.
soccer and football are the only two teams that I really follow. I
Mhm.
tried to get into rugby a few year ago. Well, a lot of years ago. I think it was 2003. England won the World Cup. So I
Yeah.
think I tried to get into rugby. Cricket's just far too long, man. Like they stop to have lunch. Like the games are that
That's
long. Like
wild.
they take days. Cricket games can take days. They actually have to stop to have like lunch breaks. Like, but it's just so boring. Like I can't. I want to try and be a bit of a baseball fan, but I think it's a shorter game than cricket. But I think unless
Yeah.
you hit like home runs or every time, like I just think it's a little bit boring. But cricket's the same unless you're smashing. It's called a six in cricket. If you hit the ball out of bounds, you get 6 points. I think unless you're
Mhm.
smashing sixes, it could be interesting, but it's just very slow, very boring.
Yeah.
I tried to get into tennis a few years ago as well, but
Mhm.
yeah, I struggle with that. But nah, soccer. I'll say I'm a big sports fan, but I'm
Mhm.
not really. I'm a soccer and a football fan. That's pretty much it. Like Formula One. Like
Yep.
me in-law and my wife likes NASCAR, so I'm trying to get into NASCAR, but I
Oh,
think motorsports I can't really get into.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm just a soccer and football fan straight up. Basketball I like,
Nice.
but I fell out of contact
Yeah.
with that. I think once the NFL came in, the NBA left. So yeah, I haven't
Mhm.
been in contact with the NBA for a long time, but over the past couple of years, being on Panthers social media, everybody talks about the Hornets. So I check out the Hornets results and
Yeah.
Charlotte FC and everything to do with Carolina. Like so, yeah. I hope the Hornets do well. They look like they're on the up as well, having their takeover with Michael Jordan leaving. But yeah, nah,
Yep.
I only really follow the two sports mainly.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not I'm pretty much Carolina Panthers and college football. There's like the two big ones, and then I'll follow the other sports. But now, because I'm like so localized to the Panthers and Panthers content, I see the same thing as you with like
Mm.
the Hornets, with Charlotte FC, which they're doing much better than they
Yeah,
have,
yeah, they're
and
doing good.
I hope that's an indication of like what the Panthers will be this year. And then the Hurricanes, which they're up in Raleigh, which is
Mhm.
like above us, but trying to stay in the loop with everything. It's fun. So you got a big trip coming up, man, and I heard on it. I think it's like a honeymoon celebration. So one,
Yeah,
congrats to you.
thank
But you're
you.
coming over here, and you were taking advantage of it, which is amazing. You're going to see SEC football,
Mhm.
and you're going to get to see the Carolina Panthers. And I gotta change hats for this one just to get you
Nice. Like,
to
thank
get
you.
you
I like that.
prepared. So,
Awesome.
one, I will say you could not have, in my opinion, in early September, picked a better football game than Saturday in Columbia, man.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, so we've been it's my in-laws, like my wife's family. They're big Gamecock fans. Some of them are Clemson fans too, like they're split. But we've gone the last 2 years, and man, it's a fun experience, and SEC football really is, like, a notch above all college football,
Yeah.
like, in the US, and I'll say that as I'm an ACC guy,
Mhm.
so my I like North Carolina, like,
Yeah.
Tar Heels, and, dude, it's night and day going from, like, a an ACC football game, and it's no knock, I'm sure there's some good venues that like Virginia Tech, amazing venue with Enter Sandman, but you're gonna be in for a treat, man. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear like your plans, or I know people are trying to like pepper you with like places to go and things to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah,
Are
I've
you
got a long
excited?
list. I could not be. I wish it was tomorrow. I wish it was today. Because
Mhm.
like I say, I've been a Panthers fan for 13 years now, so this trip's been at least 10 years in the making. But yeah, we got married last September, and we wanted to do it last year, but I think financially it made a little bit more sense to wait a year and just save up a
Yep.
bit so we could kind of do it bigger and better and longer. Um, yeah, just to be able to get to that Panthers game, that's just a dream come true. The first one of the season as well, that was kind of always the target. I think every first game of the season is always exciting. So first home game, obviously week two
Yep.
against Jim Harbaugh's Chargers. I think that'll be awesome. But yeah, the plan was always to go to at least one college game. I think we
Mhm.
initially wanted to travel around the southeast. So
Yeah.
we wanted to. We're both big country music fans, so we wanted to do Nashville as well. So we wanted to go around. I like Clemson as well, so I wanted to go from Charlotte to Clemson, maybe Athens, then to Atlanta, then Tuscaloosa, Nashville, Knoxville,
Mhm.
back to Charlotte. So I want to do that loop, but that would have just cost far too much. And we don't really have the
Yeah.
time. We've got a 2-year-old, 2.5-year-old son and full time job. So yeah, I think getting
Mhm.
time off, childcare, uh, financially would have been a big stretch. But yeah, that was
Yeah.
the dream, and I picked those because I wasn't really bothered about which college game that I got to. I just know that I wanted to go to one. I think Knoxville, I think Tennessee would have been a huge one. I think the atmosphere
That would be
there
big too.
would have been
Yeah.
amazing. So that was one that I really wanted to see. But yeah, Georgia, Alabama, Clemson, I would have liked to have gone to any one of them. But once we started to try and condense the trip, we had to
Mhm.
wait for the NFL schedule as well because we didn't know obviously which games to go to. So we had all this
It's true.
planned in our heads and we had it all written down. We had sheets and sheets of paper just to try and figure out what we wanted to do. But we need to know when the Panthers were going to be playing at Bank of America. So we didn't know when that was. So yeah, when the schedule came out, I had a look at which the local teams are. I looked at North Carolina, NC State, Duke, Wake Forest, everywhere, just to try and see which games there were. Knoxville's not too far away. We could have rented a car and gone to that if we wanted to. But yeah, I looked at the schedule, when we're going to be there, which games there are, and South Carolina LSU just stuck out like a sore thumb. I was like, holy shit,
Yeah.
that's the game. Like, we've got to go to that one. Big
Yep.
SEC game, like an hour and a half down the road. Like, yeah, that is it. We're going to that one, hands down. So yeah, we had to do that. But yeah, like I say, I put a post out a few weeks ago just asking for advice, recommendations. I got loads, and more people that I've spoke to have recommended more and more and more. A lot of them are food places. Like we're like we're food, we're like drink. So yeah, I've got a long. We're only there for 7 days. Like, I need to think I need to be there for
Yeah.
7 months to try and get through everything that I've got on this list.
For real.
So yeah, I'm just looking forward to doing what we can. I know there's not a lot that we can do. We'll certainly be checking out the NASCAR Hall of Fame and the Charlotte Speedway. So she's a big NASCAR fan, and I'm
Yeah.
into it. I'm not a big fan, but while in Charlotte and that's there, I think it's got to be done. So yeah, we've got that to do. Probably going to check out the Charlotte Knights game as well. I think that should be fun because we're staying on the hotel right in between the stadiums, so we're on South Mint Street,
Nice.
so right between Bank of America and Truist Field. So yeah, we'll probably check out the Knights game while we're there. But yeah, everything else between food, drink, sightseeing, things to do
Yeah.
during the day. Yeah, I need more than 7 days. I can't condense this.
That's it. Well, for the Gamecocks, man, I'm guessing LSU. LSU. I We've been to Texas A&M and Vanderbilt. So
Mhm.
Texas A&M was they were big. I'm guessing LSU is going to travel really well, and you're going to have people tailgating like miles away from the stadium. It's mind blowing.
Yeah.
Like you'll park probably half a mile, a quarter of a mile, walk up, and people will be tailgating everywhere. And
Mhm.
then across from the stadium, like once you actually get close to it, across the street, they'll have a bunch of like free stuff, like free tailgating stuff. So they've got all kinds of vendors, games. They'll do, I don't know what time it is. Like before the game, they'll have one of the players walk through, but then the band, all that, like you get to just see
Yeah.
everyone as they like file in. And then, the game itself should be should be really good.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. Like, I know my wife's
Mhm.
been to the States a few times, been to various games. Like, she went to one. She went to a Badgers game. I can't remember if
Oh,
it was the
nice.
I can't remember if it was the Badgers or the Packers game, but they said like they got like a school bus, like the big yellow school buses, and they got dropped off. I think it was like $10, but there was like a cooler full of beer at the front, and
Yeah,
yeah, that was pretty cool. But they
that's
walked
awesome.
through it like for miles, as you said. They dropped you off like a good like mile and a half, and they were going through some like some streets, like some houses, and people just had like
Yeah,
the garages open. and they were just inviting
It's
people in. There was like beers and all sorts. They were just in people's
yep.
garages and houses, just tailgating. So that's where I wanted to do college. Anyone, I wasn't bothered, even if it was like Vanderbilt up in Nashville, would have quite happily done that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I can't wait for all of that. And I've seen like stuff of South Carolina as well. Like I know you posted a video you toured there not too long ago, didn't
Yeah.
you? And then I seen it yesterday on the receiver series. Debo Samuel went to see Xavier Leggett. So I seen that
Uh-huh.
just yesterday on receiver on Netflix. So yeah, man, it looks awesome, man. Any college game, particularly SEC, it's gonna be awesome. I can't wait.
It is. And they also have old train cabooses that like you have to pay to get in, but you'll get to see them lined up. So part of their like tailgate experience for I guess like VIP or alumni, they have like just old train cabooses that are stacked up where people tailgate. It's the craziest thing, man. And then Sandstorm, dude.
Yeah.
Sandstorm, it's amazing. They should give out the white towels. So I think if you get there pretty early, like when you get in, they usually got tons of those to give out. And since it's a big game, I'm sure that they'll have plenty to give out for y'all.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I don't think we know what time it is yet because I think when we booked it, it was to be decided the time of the game. I don't know if it's been announced yet. I haven't seen anything. But yeah, we've
Oh
got a
yeah,
prepaid Uber, part of the
nice.
package. So yeah, we've just got to notify Uber just to let them know when to come get us. So yeah, it's about an hour and a half trip. So yeah, I want to be there well in advance. I want to get there at least 2 hours before kickoff, minimum. Maybe it's even 4 hours. Like I want to be there in great time so we can tailgate, celebrate, enjoy the game. But after, I'm in no rush to get back to Charlotte. I want to stay in Columbia for as long as possible. I want
Yeah,
to party. I want to party with the college kids. I just want
that's
to have a
right.
great time. Yeah, that was a big part of it. Just like go to a college town. Like I've heard their atmospheres are awesome, like, especially after a game day. Like
Yeah,
just go to the college bars. Like man, that's gonna be cool.
it is. It is a really cool experience. So I guess I'll flip now. I'm just gonna change hats the whole time. I had this prepared just for you, man. Panthers, Panthers football. So kind of, closing out the episode, we can talk a little bit of Panthers. I mean, why not? It's a Panthers channel, and that's what we do. And there's been a lot. There's been a lot that's happened this year, a lot that happened last year. It's hard to, summarize everything right now. And I know you're in the loop, but curious to get your general thoughts like heading into this year and, maybe expectations for Bryce and Dave Canales and how you see the team looking or hopefully looking this year.
Yeah, hopeful. That's a big word. Because coming off of last year, who knows, man? Like I know we've made some great changes. Getting Dave Canales, supposed offensive guru, quarterback whisperer, as he said to be, which I feel like is the reason why he was hired because that was a bit of a red flag when he was first hired because nobody else was interested. Like everyone was
Yeah.
interviewing the same guys. Like Ezra Evero had a few interviews. Um, like Raheem Morris, Todd Munkin. It was just the same candidates, Jim Harbaugh. Everybody wanted the same people. But yeah, we were the only one that even interviewed Dave Canales and then went one step further and hired him. So I was a bit unsure about that at the time. But from what I've seen of him, from the videos that they've released, like just seeing his enthusiasm, just he just seems such a cool, down to earth guy, just really serious about his football, and has a plan. And that was a big thing that I worried
Mhm.
about last year with Frank Reich. I think the coaching staff Frank Reich put together looked amazing on paper, Frank was always the sort of red flag in and among them. I thought that the other guys can
Mhm.
maybe step up and kind of do their job, but it was that first game. I think was it the Jets the first preseason game? I think we got shut out like
Yeah,
26-0 or something like that.
it was not good.
Then he came
Yep.
out into the post game press conference and said pretty much like we didn't have a plan. I'm like, what do you mean we didn't have a plan? Like that was a red flag because that was exactly like Newcastle's previous head coach, Steve Bruce, before the
Uh-huh.
takeover. Like he always said that he didn't believe in tactics and things like that. I was like, what do you mean? You don't have a
Mhm.
plan. You don't think about tactics. Like so, as soon as Frank Reich came out and said we didn't have a plan, I was like, oh my god, he's Steve Bruce. Like this is just Newcastle all over again. So that was a huge red flag for me. Um,
Yep.
yeah, with Frank Reich, yeah, sorry, with Dave Canales, I feel like he should be the guy. I think he's going to take a little bit of time. People talking about what he can do with Bryce Young. Can he do the same job that he did with Gino and Baker? I believe that he can, and potentially even be better, because Gino was
Mhm.
in his 30s, a journeyman, backup, bridge at best, and Baker still quite young, only like 5 years in the league, shoved out
Yep.
of Cleveland, didn't quite cut it at the Panthers. The Rams didn't want to keep him on, so both careers seemed like they were done. They were dead in the pan. All they were ever going to be was backups or bridge guys. But Bryce is only
Mhm.
2 years in, not too far years removed from being a Heisman Trophy winner and the number one
Yep.
overall pick. Like, them accolades don't come to everybody. Like, you are a
Right.
player if you have had them, if you've had them accolades only what 2 year ago. Like, so there's less work to be done with Bryce than I think people make out to be, and I think people shortchange Bryce because of just how bad the offense was under Frank Reich, and going from
Mhm.
Reich to Brown, and then the offense, the guards not being able to stay healthy, receivers not getting
Yep.
open. Like, people were just harsh on Bryce. I feel like I think people are kind of already putting him down as one of like the worst quarterbacks in the league. Like, for me, this is rookie year 2.0 for Bryce. I think he's got a fresh start here, but he's at an
Mhm.
advantage that he's had 1 year of experience, and I think that 1 year he's probably learned more than what you'll learn for the rest of his career. I think that was a good year to get under his belt, learn mistakes. I mean, he's a rookie. That's where the
Mhm.
term comes from, rookie mistake, rookie error. If you can't make mistakes in your rookie year, when can you make them? And I don't feel like he made that many that were his fault. Like, yeah, there was some, but you only had
Yep.
11, well, no, 10 interceptions. If you look at the number of interceptions, way better quarterbacks had way more interceptions than he did. Like, he was quite careful and quite precise with the passes. Um,
Yep.
so yeah, I feel like he can make a huge improvement. Obviously, 153 million, I think, spent on the two guards in free agency. Getting
Mhm.
Johnson, Leggett. We've still got Thielen there, Sanders, Brooks with Miles Sanders, Chuba Hubbard. Like, we've got some dudes there that he can thrive with. So yeah, I'm expecting improvement, whatever that means, because
Yep.
we won 2 games. Right? I'm not saying that
Mhm.
we're going to win the NFC South or we're going to win 9, 10 games. I think that's unrealistic. But I think improvement and a vision is all that I'm looking for in 2024. Like, it's a bit of a write off year for me. I don't really give a damn about the win loss column. All I want to
Mhm.
see is if Bryce is our guy, if
Yep.
Canales is our coach for 2025, 2026, can we win the NFC South by 2026? Yeah, I think we could. And that's all I
Mhm.
want to see in 2024. If we win 4 games, but we do well, I'll take that as a plus. I don't know if you've seen, you
Mhm.
probably did. I think it was Ian Rappaport's comments. I think it was the week of the combine, where he
Mhm.
said Carolina need to be the 2023 Cardinals, coming off of an
Mhm.
awful 2022 year. All they need to be is exciting with a new coach in Jonathan Gannon. And I know Kyler was injured for the majority of the year, so they struck out quite a lot, but they were in most games and they were exciting, like beating the Cowboys, who were 2-0. The Cardinals were 0-2. Everybody expected the Cowboys to absolutely clean the floor with them, but they won the game.
Yeah.
And Josh Dobbs as the quarterback. By the time Kyler came back into it, they did look good, and you could see kind of the vision and what this team can be in the future. And the best part about it is they had the fourth pick in the draft and got one of the best wide receiver prospects that we've ever
Did.
seen. So that's
Yep.
a big, big plus for them. So if we win 4 games, but we're in most of the ones that we lose, so what would that be? 13, what, 14 and 14, 4 and 13?
Yep.
If we're in at least 7 of those 13 games, if they're close games, we look good, I'm okay with that. I think that's a plus.
Yeah. I agree. I think as I've kind of talked to some of the folks that you mentioned, you, other creators, I'm in that same range where I think I'd love to see us turn it around quick,
Mhm.
quicker this year or get back into the winning ways, but I think it's going to take steps and I think they've set the foundation there to do it like you said and to be competitive in the next 2, 3 years. And there's a window to do that. So I do think Panthers fans may have to be a little, patient this year with
Yeah,
everything and knowing that we're
realistic.
heading in the right direction, and I think the biggest thing, like you said, is Bryce Young the future, and do we definitively know that and see how competitive he is, how competitive we are in the football games, and, yeah, I think we should see an improved offense as well as a defense that defense lost some pieces, but I feel
Yeah.
confident in the defensive coaching staff that, we can get things shipped in the right direction. I will say, as we talk about the schedule, one of the benefits I think for you maybe of having the worst record last year is no primetime games, which
Yes,
means
that is a good
hopefully
thing for me.
you get to see it. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
every
you get
year
to
that I've
see.
been watching, I have to make sure I'm either on a late shift at work or just take the day off because I don't miss games. I think we had was it 2 last year? I think the Bears and was it one of the divisional games? I can't remember which one it
There was
was,
a
but
Saints Monday night.
Saints, yeah. So
Mhm.
yeah, work the next day is pretty tough. Um, but yeah, I stay up for it. I normally go to bed quite early, set an alarm. The games are normally about
Uh-huh.
1:20, I think. So they'll be about what 8:20 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
So yeah, I normally set an alarm about 1:15 in the morning. I go to bed about 9 o'clock. So by the time the game finishes, it's normally about 4:30, 5 a.m. in the morning here. So I'll go to bed for another couple
Man,
hours. Yeah, it's tough, but I do it and I don't regret it. I love it. But yeah, not having
that's
a
awesome.
primetime game for me, I think it's a bad thing for the team, but we
Yeah,
deserve it. Like, yeah, you can't give a two-win team loads of primetime games. Like, so yeah,
it's
we
true.
deserve it. We earned not having a primetime game. Like, yeah, the rest of the league doesn't need another Panthers Bears primetime game, do they?
That's
So
it.
yeah, it's a good thing for me. Yeah, so that they're all normal games. I think they're mostly like 1 p.m. games, which is
Mhm.
6 p.m. for me, which is perfect timing. Even
That's
the
great
later
timing.
games are about 9:30 p.m. So yeah, that's fine. I'm happy for
That's not bad at all. Take that and, I think I have it bad sometimes staying up till 11. Like, you are a diehard fan, and so
that.
for any other fans based in the States to hear your dedication, that's awesome. So,
Yeah.
hey, man, this has been great. We're gonna have to get together once you go on your trip, get back to hear how things went. Have a random question. I don't even know. I know you're a country music fan. Are you a fan of Glass Animals, or are they just too poppy? Like, I don't know how they are over in the
I
UK.
haven't heard much of them, to be honest. I recognize the
Uh,
name, but I can't actually tell you much about them. I'll look into them
mhm.
though. Glass Animals. I'll download some
Yeah,
music because yeah, I
they're
follow
like
like a
a
lot of like country pages on like social media and stuff, and I've probably seen the name, but not really looked too much
mhm.
into them. So I'm gonna
Yeah,
get them up right now.
they're well, we call it like alternative. They're technically like rock, kind of
Right.
on pop. It's in that group, but anyways, I think they're based in the UK, but they're coming over for their tour, and our oldest son's like the biggest fan, and they came. So I live in Wilmington, which you think
Hmm.
Charlotte's small. Wilmington is much smaller, but we're on the coast, and we got an amphitheater or outdoor music venue like 2 or 3 years ago, or maybe it was four. It was right around COVID, or I guess right after COVID kind of settled down. But the Glass Animals came, which was like huge for us, and we got tickets, but there was some precautions around COVID, and so we didn't get to go. So we're going. We got it for his birthday, so we're going to see them. I guess it's yeah, in like a few weeks in August. They're coming out to
Mm,
Raleigh, but should be fun,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, I'm just checking them out there, and yeah, the English like kind of indie rock band. Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah, I probably have heard of them in that aspect, but thinking of them in country music, then I probably don't know who they are in that aspect. But
Yeah,
yeah, because they've been around since 2010, so yeah, I would have heard of them, but I haven't really listened to much indie rock over the past 10 years or so. So yeah, they've
yeah,
probably definitely slipped under my radar. But no, that's cool that they're going over there, being a band from the UK.
yeah. What, like, who's your favorite country artist?
I've got a few. Obviously, the big guys. We've seen Luke Combs not too long ago in Glasgow. We've been to
That's
quite a
awesome.
few. We've done a festival that had Kane Brown, Carly Pierce, and Lauren Elena. I like
Nice.
what's he called? Connor Smith, Cameron Marlowe
Mhm.
from North Carolina. I like Cameron Marlowe.
That's
Like
awesome.
obviously like your Morgan Wallens and all them big guys, Chris
Yeah,
Stapletons. Yeah.
that's awesome. We our, Morgan Wallen, I think, was coming to Bank of America. I think it was supposed to be last Friday, but he had to, like,
Oh, he
he I don't know
cancelled,
if
didn't
you
he? Yeah.
yeah, he moved it to October, but I guess my one of our neighbors was supposed to go, so they I don't know, it got rescheduled, but yeah, those are saying the big names. Do y'all or do you listen to Zach Bryan, or has he gotten
Yes.
big
Yeah.
over there yet? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, love Zach Bryan. I don't think he's that
that's
big in the UK, but I think with
mhm,
kind of like the NFL and American football, and it's how it's developed in the UK. It's taken some time, but particularly over the past maybe 5 year or so, I think since maybe it's 2019, I would say like the NFL's grown a lot over here
yeah,
in the UK. But country music, I think, is just coming in. It's starting to be a little bit more accepted now. So I know like a lot of
mhm,
people are like Morgan Wallen fans. He's done like a lot of like big collaborations as well. So I think that goes a long way, especially with like
yep,
your Post Malones. Obviously, like, Post Malone's quite popular in
yeah,
pop and hip hop and all that kind of different stuff. So I think Post Malone going into the country way, that's getting people like Post Malone, sorry, Morgan Wallen a lot more popularity. But yeah, like Luke
yeah,
Combs is quite big, and Kane Brown's quite big. But yeah, I think Zach Bryan is maybe a little bit still
mhm,
unmarked territory, sort of in the UK. He done a tour not too long ago, but it was like that stupid ticket ballot application thing. So yeah,
yes,
I applied in the
yep,
ballot, but I couldn't get them. But he must be more
I
popular
didn't
than
either.
I think he is, because yeah, I think the tickets sold out straight away. So yeah, the ballot done well, but yeah, I wasn't able to
Yep,
get one unfortunately. So yeah, he must be a lot more popular than I give him credit for.
yeah, it's wild. We did the ticket thing, we didn't get it, and then I think he was coming over to Greensboro, North Carolina, which is, like, closer to Raleigh, above Charlotte, and I got I think I did get in line for that one, and we were trying to get, I think, either the lower bowl or floor, and I can't even remember, the prices were insane, and I was like, I think I'm just gonna pass for right now," like, a little too
Yeah, it's
much.
yeah, it's difficult, man. I hate that thing. I think everything's becoming like that. Like the London game for the NFL, like being Green Bay. Both my
Yeah,
wife and father-in-law are big Packers fans, and the Packers were the only team, I think, the one out of the 32 teams that hadn't ever played in London uh, up
wow.
until just last year. So we tried to get tickets, but for about a 70, maybe it's 80,000 seat stadium, I think there was like more than a million people in the queue, and the
Mhm.
prices they went to like the third party prices, and just they were just ridiculous prices. Like it would have been cheaper to go to Green Bay. I could have gone to Lambo for the price that it cost to go to London. So yeah, I think
That's
ticket prices,
wild.
like music shows. I think Luke Combs actually, when we
Yeah,
got the Luke Combs tickets, we had to get them
wow.
separately because we had like three phones and two laptops on the table waiting for
Yeah,
the
tried
time
to
for them
get
to
in the
be
queue.
released. So we were all in the queue, but we had to get them separately. So me, my wife, and both in-laws went. So we had four individual tickets because we couldn't even get two together. So we were all at different areas of the arena.
Yeah,
So yeah, it was insane, but that's what we had to do to go. But yeah, I think, like I say, we were in the queue like an hour before the tickets were released, but still couldn't get even two tickets together. Man, it's insane how people get tickets these days, like ballot applications and prices, third party ticket touts, and yeah, it's awful trying to get anywhere these days, man. Like you have to really work hard for it. It's ridiculous.
that's it. Well, This has been great. I will plug some of your content. First of all, you're a fantastic follow on X, Twitter, Instagram, all those. I love the countdown. I mean, for folks that aren't following him, he does a countdown to, how many days before the season, and he uses a former player. You've got a guess the player compilation
Hmm.
going on, and everyone, like you said, guessed Julius Peppers the first one, and now you're
Yeah.
just getting crickets on
Yeah,
this
no,
newest
it's
one.
easy when you get it. Like a lot of the comments were like, "Ah, this is are you serious? Like, this is so easy." It's like, yeah, it's easy when you know it. But I think that was the other one. I think I'd done. Who was the first one I'd done? I can't remember who I posted. It wasn't Kerry Collins. I can't remember. But yeah,
Oh, okay.
I done another one, and that was pretty much crickets as well. But yeah, Julius
Yeah.
Peppers was easy, and like obviously I'm going to do different difficulty levels. I don't want to make them impossible. So yeah, I put the Julius Peppers one out, and yeah, that got like 53, like 59,000 views, and everyone just saying how easy it was, and like you need a challenge. And I've give people a
Mm,
challenge, and again crickets. So yeah, it's only easy when you know it.
that's it. So people can follow you at Panthers Magpie on X, and then Instagram. Is it
The Panthers Magpie, yeah.
the Panthers Magpie? That's what I thought. And then your other handle is Keg TMC
Yeah,
for
that's the
UK
personals.
content.
Yeah, that's it.
Sweet man. Well, I'll let you plug anything else that you want to. So outside of this podcast, I know you went on another podcast or two, and you got one tomorrow. So
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
booked out, man.
Yeah, yeah. So make sure to follow the channels for all of that update. Yeah, I recorded one on Friday that should be out on I think Wednesday, maybe. I'm not too sure. Then yeah, I'm doing Ryan Smith tomorrow. So yeah, I don't know when that one will be out, but yeah, got a lot of work coming up, and I think I've got a few more in the pipeline. I know I'm going to be chatting with Ben from Keep Purring. I think the week before the
Nice.
season starts to ask about me trip and things like that. So yeah, a lot of lines in the fire right now. But yeah, on the personals at Keg TMC, you'll find more sort of Newcastle content, UK soccer stuff. I'm a part of the Magpie channel, which is a Newcastle United fan based channel. We've got, I think, about
Mhm.
35,000 YouTube subscribers over there and over 100,000 followers across social media. Won
It's wild.
awards for our content on there. So yeah, we do a podcast every Tuesday. So I've got that as well. I forgot about that. So yeah, after I'm speaking to Brian on Monday, I've got the
Man,
Magpie Channel podcast on Tuesday. So yeah, I've got a busy week planned out. So yeah, make sure to follow for all of that content. It's all much appreciated. But thank you to you, and make sure to follow Two Growls One Roar because I think it's actually my 1 year Twitter anniversary today. So yeah,
awesome.
it was a year ago that I started the Panthers Magpie accounts on Instagram and X. Hoping to go a bit further. That was always the vision to start doing YouTube content from about 2020. I've been wanting to
Yeah,
do this, but with life, with my kind of family and personal life, just time commitments and stuff haven't really been able to pan out. Which is why I set up the Panthers Magpie a year ago, just to kind of gain some traction and just to try and see if anybody would want to follow me or listen to what I've got to say. But yeah,
yeah,
that's been open for a year, and I'm pretty sure you and I think Ben as well. You were two of my first couple of follows, and you've always been so supportive over the year. I know we've had a lot of back and forth over the past year. So yeah, thank you to you for your support over the
right,
past
man.
year, and for hopefully for the future to come as well. I'm sure we'll keep a good relationship going.
Yeah, man. You put out great work. You put in a lot of time too. Like whenever you are ready to start your videos or channel, like I will gladly hop on anytime you need me, man.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's always been kind of like that vision, like I say, from being a Newcastle United content creator for since 2017. I got the idea during the pandemic, during lockdown, where your mind wanders. And I think I'd done my first
Yep.
couple of Panthers podcasts in that year. Because another little plug I'll put out on the Magpie channel, I'd done a vlog of the 2019 London game against the Buccaneers. So that's on the Magpie
Mhm.
channel now if anyone wants to go and watch that. So yeah, I found a few people that found that video and then reached out. So yeah,
That's awesome.
I've been doing a couple of podcasts since long before the Panthers Magpie was created. But yeah, that's where the vision came, and I wanted to do sort of more like British like fan channel stuff, kind of like the Magpie channel, because it's a bit of a culture over here. Like
Yeah.
it's quite big, but it's a bit like you love it or you hate it. We get some
Mhm.
criticisms, but it's been kind of accepted by the larger media. So a lot of like soccer content creators get on mainstream TV and get to do sort of like analytics and things like that. So we are accepted as much as some people might not like it. But our
Mhm.
style is kind of different to anything that you'd get from any kind of NFL content creators. So I wanted to kind of cross the two over and do my sort of British version of a Panthers content creation side of things. But yeah, we had the baby in 2021 and moved house and got the dog and got married and all of that kind of
Yeah,
adult stuff, moving jobs, and I got a promotion, and then just life's just been crazy over
man.
the past 3 4 years since the pandemic. So that's just been put on the back burner. But that's why the Panthers Magpie is there, just to try and create some traction, gain some following. So if, and I hope it does, but if and when the YouTube stuff, the more daily content starts to come about, then yeah, hopefully you guys are ready for it.
That's it, man. This has been great. I appreciate you coming on the show, and, enjoy your trip. Can't wait to hear more about it, man.
Yeah, thank you very much. I can't wait for it either. 54 days, I believe it is. Not
There
that
you
I'm
go.
counting. Not
That's
that
all
I'm
right.
that excited, but I'm pretty sure it's 54 days. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate it. You have a good one.
Yeah. Cheers, dude. Thank you for having me on.